I'm a pretty big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. In fact, pretty much everything I'm wearing right now is Sonic related. And when I was younger, the most exciting moment of my school days was a time I was so sick I had to stay at home and all I had to do was play Sonic on Master System to amuse me in between throwing up into a bucket. Good times. One morning during the 1980s, when I was just knee-high to a Brussels sprout, I went downstairs and entered a magical place. The living room on Christmas morning. That year I'd asked for a bike and a computer, in my youthful naivety not realising there was a difference between a computer and a games console.
Where does the email go?
But that year, I got a bike! A lovely mountain bike, and just as I was giddily bouncing about, my mother tapped on the Commodore C64 that was perched on the sofa. I'd got a computer, and I didn't know what to do with it. There was no internet back then, and I was too young to know what single women in my area was anyway, so I got on with typing run, stop, and load, and taking 10 minutes to boot up a game from cassette tape. It would be another few years until I woke up on Christmas morning to find an actual games console, and as I looked at it in awe, I realised I had in my hands the sleek black beauty of a Sega Master System 2. The SMS was a unique console. Most machines came with a pack-in game. The NES had Mario and Duck Hunt, the Mega Drive had Altered Beast, and the Game Boy had Tetris. I mean, we all had Tetris, right? That game came preloaded at birth. But the SMS was different. It didn't come with a pack-in game, it came with a built-in game. Maybe it was to cut down on the cost of manufacturing the physical packs for games, a cost that wouldn't be recouped, but it felt futuristic to have a game actually built into the system. The first game to be built in was Alex Kidd, and I think as a society it's time we accepted there's never been a good Alex Kidd game, and there's a reason he never quite reached recognisable mascot status. I mean, look at this. Terrible home haircut, oversized, ill-fitting clothes. He was that weird kid from class that was always a little bit off. I can smell this Sprite.
Socks.
But it wouldn't be long before Alex Kidd was replaced. Sonic the Hedgehog launched in 1991, and I don't need to go into his history, you know it. Mr. Needlemouse, his human girlfriend, how he got his name, the people he killed and ate, his origins are well known. But Sonic on the Master System was my very first introduction to the character, and maybe that bias and rose-tinted glasses has impacted me. But I will forever maintain that Sonic on the Master System is the superior Sonic the Hedgehog experience. A few months prior, I'd experienced the game at a cousin's house. She was playing the Jungle Zone on a big screen TV, which by 1991 standards was probably smaller than my PC monitor is today, but I was in awe. I was 8, and this was gaming. And I needed it. So I hassled my parents for months until they relented and got me the Master System for Christmas. I spent the entire day playing it. We're fairly familiar today with game ports. A game comes out on the Xbox and a near-identical version comes out on the PlayStation, on Steam, and frequently now on the Switch. There are rarely any major changes. In fact, in recent years, the biggest difference in ports I can think of came from the Ghostbusters, the video game, where the Xbox and PlayStation versions looked like this, and the Nintendo version looked like this. It's like the cheats from a Tony Hawk's game got out of control. But aside from this, and ignoring some under-the-hood tech differences, if you played Arkham Asylum on the PlayStation, you've played Arkham Asylum on the Xbox. The first Sonic game was different though. It wasn't merely ported from the Mega Drive to the Master System, save for some level names, these were entirely different games. The Mega Drive was a more powerful system, so the Master System couldn't properly replicate the software. This meant a lot of games which came out on the Mega Drive weren't simply ported, but in many cases built as entirely original games from the ground up. The two versions of Jurassic Park are worlds apart, and again, maybe nostalgia is the culprit, but I enjoy the Master System version more. It felt like the hardware limitations forced them to be more creative with the visuals and gameplay, and the same is true with Sonic. At its core, the game is the same. A blue spiky blur races through the levels, smashing badniks and ending each zone with a battle against Dr. Robotnik, along the way collecting Chaos Emeralds to get the true ending. But Sonic on the Master System, I personally feel, captures the character better than the Mega Drive, and it all comes down to Sonic's main quality: running. No one can argue that the loops of the Mega Drive version aren't iconic. That Green Hill Zone isn't an incredible, bright, colourful and super fast-paced level, but there's a good reason Green Hill is the only level we really think about when it comes to Sonic of the Mega Drive. A reason why Green Hill is the only level from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 that keeps getting remade over and over and over again. The very last thing humanity will do in 5 billion years when the sun explodes is crank out one final new version of Green Hill Zone. The rest of Sonic 1 on the Mega Drive is a bit meh. Marble Zone begins with slowing us right down, waiting for crushers and standing on blocks, waiting to drift across the lava. Spring Hill Zone allows for a bit more speed, but despite a great soundtrack doesn't do a lot and is really quite forgettable. Labyrinth Zone is huge and due to being underwater, slows Sonic down to a crawl. Starlight Zone is kinda ugly and Scrap Brain Zone is just too big. Now some of these complaints aren't game breaking, but it feels that Sonic never quite recaptures his speed and bright enjoyment of that very first level. The Mega Drive Sonic 1 after Green Hill Zone is kinda just there. They remove what made the character so iconic, and they did this in the very second level of his very first game. Now, Sonic on the Master System might not have the same power as the Mega Drive, but it does to a greater extent retain the bright and colourful aspects of that first level. Even the levels that are repeated in the Master System feel less claustrophobic and imposing and much more fun because of it. Of course, things look very different, and due to hardware limitations we didn't get the loops, but I've got to be honest, I never quite understood why everyone went loopy for the loops. They don't really add anything beyond a very slight speed burst, and after the first Green Hill Zone, they're not seen that often. But Sonic 1 makes up for its lack of loops by giving more opportunity for exploration. In fact, it's essential if you want to get the good game ending. You see, unlike in the Mega Drive version, where you found the emeralds in an LSD nightmare of a special zone, the emeralds in the Master System were hidden inside the levels, which really encouraged the player to explore and look around all areas of the level, leaving no stone unturned. Later emeralds even required some minor puzzle solving. How do we get the Labyrinth Zone emerald without injury? Well, it requires you to get the invincibility power-up, something that can be missed on a first playthrough. In Jungle Zone, you need to jump onto a platform you wouldn't think to unless you were actively exploring and then ride on a log. In Skybase Zone, you need to take a leap of faith at the very start of the level, and Green Hill and Scrap Brain Zones both require exploration, with Bridge Zone requiring some fast platforming reflexes. The clues of where and how to find the emeralds are all there. The gameplay itself gives you hints as to how and where to find them. Sonic 2 on the Master System would also have the emeralds hidden in levels, but in my opinion, that was far more punishing and a little bit mean at times, whereas in Sonic 1, anyone can get the emeralds if you just spend a little time exploring and looking around the level. So if emeralds are hidden inside levels, what of the special zones? Well, they're here too, but much altered, and they have a completely different purpose. The special zone provides an opportunity to earn continues and extra lives, and these really can help. You enter them by collecting between 50 and 99 rings in the level, but do be careful not to get 100 rings, because you'll then earn an extra life and the ring counter will reset to 0, making you ripe for being murdered by a badnik. The special stages themselves are nothing special, and there are only 4 of them really, with them repeating with slight changes, but they're fun and above all fast in a way that the Mega Drive versions were not. And on the topic of fast, we really need to look at the levels. There are 6 zones in the SMS version, 3 of them appearing in the Mega Drive version as well. Of course, Green Hill is here, and it feels and looks like Green Hill, just on a less powerful system. It plays fine, and in place of loops we have a number of hills with off-ramps, which if you hit just right will send you flying off screen and will require the game to catch up with you. You're so fast. The second act has a completely different setup with a more cavernous exploration. Bridge is an original zone for the Master System and it's gorgeous, though these little can go drown in salty butt. Although Sonic will die if he goes in the water, there are plenty of challenges here. It feels like a natural continuation of Green Hill Zone, as if Sonic has run straight from there to here. We then head into what might be my favourite level in all of the 8 and 16-bit era Sonic games, Jungle Zone. This is simply gorgeous. It's bright and lush, it really pushes the Master System's ability to display colours, and it is stunning. Of all the zones from this era, I think Jungle Zone is the one that deserves a modern update the most. We've seen similar zones in later games, but taking this specific zone and remaking it for the 21st century would be wonderful. This is followed by Labyrinth Zone, and it's Labyrinth Zone on 8-bit, it still sucks. No one likes you, Labyrinth Zone, you're the Alex Kidd of Sonic levels. The only bonus here is that you don't get the soul-destroying aggressive music when Sonic is about to run out of air. You just get the countdown, and then you bounce off the screen dead. This is followed by Scrap Brain Zone, which is a fairly fun platformer, and again it has lots of hidden secrets from extra lives to finding the emerald using transporters out of Star Trek. It's a scaled down version of the Mega Drive level, and it's better for it. The last zone before the final confrontation is Skybase, and this is again incredibly stunning. The first act is just a beautiful level with lightning and black canvas. It feels gothic, it feels ominous, and you know you're near the end. The second act of the zone is entirely different and is essentially the first time we see a flying ship level. Before Winged Fortress, before Flying Battery, there was Skybase Act 2. It feels much more like a Mario airship level, maybe that's what they were going for, but you can basically skip the entire level if you jump to the left at the very start and ride the platforms to the emerald. One of the best things about this game, and one I don't think would be repeated in a Sonic game until Sonic Adventure 2 a decade later, is the zone map. It's beautiful to see that all these levels do exist in the same place and the same world on this island. In fact, one of the best things about the game that Sonic on the Mega Drive didn't accomplish is it really feels like these zones all exist in the same place. Each level feels like it naturally flows on from the previous one, and you aren't just jumping around to levels the designers thought looked neat. Green Hill flows into Bridge, Bridge flows into Jungle, flows into Labyrinth, flows into Scrap Brain, flows into Skybase. It all feels interconnected and it makes the game richer for it. The badniks in each level are essentially the same as in the Mega Drive version. Even the new levels for the Master System simply reuse the same badniks. There's nothing much to say about them. The bosses are all really varied, though the Labyrinth boss does feel like a simple variant on the Bridge boss, which kinda makes sense, they're both water-based. The Jungle boss gave me the most trouble on my early playthroughs, and it was this and the Bridge boss that caused me to die the most, though once you learn their patterns, they're pretty easy. Even the last boss isn't a huge challenge if you can learn the pattern. You don't get rings in the boss levels at all, so this does add to the challenge. The final boss does take a lot of hits to defeat, and the hardest part is the second half of the fight when the electric rays are a bit more random, but again, once you learn the pattern, you realise it isn't so random. You can beat the game in a little under half an hour. It's fun, but not overly difficult. The gameplay itself is far more varied than the Mega Drive counterpart, which is essentially going from left to right. The SMS version includes some quirks such as a vertical level in Jungle Act 2, which again, likely due to hardware limitation, can be harder than it has any right to be, because as you move up, what was below you essentially ceases to exist, and falling is an instant death. Which makes some sections a little bit unfair, such as this deceptive area which looks like a ledge. It can be really quite mean. Exploration is definitely encouraged, as is problem solving. It's a much more varied game in terms of gameplay than its bigger brother. There aren't any star posts in this game. Instead, we have monitors with a down arrow which we smash to act as a restart point. And we have the usual boxes we get in the Mega Drive version: speed shoes, shield, and invincibility. The music is beautiful. Sega accomplished a great deal with the SMS restrictions. Green Hill sounds great, but my favourite piece is without doubt Jungle Zone. This music is a bop. Like, this needs an updated version, like we got with the levels in Sonic Generations. Get on it, internet! The most interesting piece of music is from Bridge Zone, however, which came out in 1991, but sounds so much like Janet Jackson's 1997 hit Together Again, which creates all sorts of potential conspiracies over the Jackson involvement after her brother Michael allegedly created music for the Mega Drive Sonic 3. You can't convince me this is a coincidence. Call me a conspiracy loon all you like.
Dancing in moonlight, I know you are free, 'cause I can see your star shining down on me.
But seriously, the music is incredible. Sure, it's 8-bit, but it's good 8-bit. Sega always managed to push the limits of its consoles in terms of its audio output, and Sonic on the SMS is no different. Of course, it's not all good. There are some serious problems with the SMS Sonic. It's very, very short for a start. You can complete this in less time than it takes to cook dinner. And despite its beauty in some levels, in others it does feel a little let down. Scrap Brain Zone feels quite bland and sparse, but one of the worst aspects of this game comes from Bridge Zone Act 2. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this is a contender for the worst level in Sonic history. Not because the level is badly laid out or because it's unfair, but because it commits a cardinal Sonic sin, something that goes further than even the worst aspects of the Mega Drive slowdown levels: a moving screen. A moving screen level has no place in a Sonic game at all. It forces the character to slow down, and it's totally unnecessary. There's nothing about this act that requires it to be a moving screen. The pitfalls and challenges are the same as in Act 1, they're just not accessible at your own pace. The moving screen adds nothing. Maybe it was done because the level itself is so short. Even with the moving screen, it only takes about 2 minutes to complete. Maybe it was about artificially increasing playtime, I don't know. But it's just awful. It's not hard, it's just confusing and really doesn't fit in with the world of Sonic. It's a Mario gimmick that should have stayed with Mario. Also, when it came time for Sega to port their games over to the Game Gear, the Sonic games generally got screwed over. The Game Gear versions are just the Master System versions, but worse. The resolution is such that you can barely see in front of you, and it makes parts of the levels unfair and difficult to complete, as you can't see where you're going. Stick with the SMS version, the Game Gear has nothing going for it. Sonic 1 on the Master System is a great game, and for me, I feel it better captures what Sonic is than the Mega Drive version. Sure, the Mega Drive looks better, but that's like saying a Victorian photograph is better than photos taken using a potato. Of course, improved hardware is going to produce improved graphics, sound, appearance, but the Master System has the superior gameplay and, as such, the superior Sonic the Hedgehog 1 experience. I think the Master System version doesn't get the attention and love it deserves, primarily because the Master System itself flopped pretty hard in America, and America, with its 300 million potential customers, is a much larger and worthwhile market than Europe, with its 746 million potential customers.
Sega suck at maths.
The Master System did exceptionally well in Europe and also in Brazil, where even today it is still a top-selling console. And because of that, Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the top-selling games for the system. So it not being revisited or treated with the same respect as the Mega Drive version feels, well, really American-centric, that the preference of the American market beats out the rest of the world. And that means a real gem of a game is relegated to novelty and bonus content afterthoughts, and nearly always the far inferior Game Gear versions. The SMS Sonic games, with the exception of Sonic Spinball, were all unique and original, different levels, different ideas, gimmicks and concepts. That they haven't got even a digital release as a compilation is, quite frankly, a crime in my eyes. In Europe and Brazil, there are going to be markets. I'd pay real human money to play SMS Sonic games on a modern console. In Sonic's 30th year, we can celebrate his Mega Drive adventures, but we can't and shouldn't overlook his SMS games, especially the first one, which, for me, is the superior Sonic experience.